Okay, good evening, everybody. It is Friday, the 23rd of October, and this is the last Friday Night Light session of our series of 12 for the fall. And we want to welcome you to this session. It is entitled A Practical Guide to Community Outreach. And you're going to hear four different approaches to community outreach, but the commonality is that these are four very dedicated, committed lodges to their communities. And we hope that you'll take away some ideas to help in the planning and the activities of your lodge. So tonight we'll include a presentation by Brother Don Warner, who's from Byron Lodge number 80. We have Mark Haddow, Joseph McKelvey, and Wes Tapp from Clinton 175. Sean Sexton, and we hope Chris Huey will also be joining us from Joppa Lodge number 315. And then batting cleanup will be Robert Lynn, our Junior Warden from Bethel Lodge number 358. We are recording this session as in the past so that they can be viewed by brothers following this session on the YouTube channel or on the Michigan Masons website. And all participants are muted and their video is turned off except for the panelists here to keep down background noise. Now, brothers Corey Curtis and Darren Thompson are monitoring the Q&A and chat functions of this particular application. You'll probably notice them at the bottom of your screen. So at any time, if you have a question or that you would like to share or ask, then please do so. And we'll ask Brother Darren or Brother Corey to pose those questions of the speakers at the end so we can keep momentum moving here. So we'll also be sending out a follow-up questionnaire on this session, and it'll help us shape future sessions coming up in the spring that we hope. So please give us your honest feedback about what you found helpful. And if you have suggestions for us to make it better, please share that with us. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Brother Don Warner from Byron Lodge number 80. And take it away, Brother Don.
I'll say hello, good evening to everyone, and just let you know that I was the secretary of Byron Lodge for 9 years, and over the last 3 years, unbeknownst to an election that didn't seem to be held in open lodge, I was made assistant secretary. So I have some experience with our lodge. What I want to keynote here for community outreach is how we reach out to other groups in our community to actually pull in and make them part of our lodge community view, if you will. So if I can have the first slide. We've learned over experience that we can use community groups to act as an exponent, not a multiplier, to engage nonprofit groups in our community. And it does a lot of things for us, but it basically pushes Masonic involvement in the public relations area in every event that we do, because I'm not sure in the last 2 years that we've had an event that was exclusive Masonic, but we really used other groups. We keep increasing the number of groups that we want to work with. As we increase those groups, that kind of acts like a multiplier. But when I say an exponent in the first item, I'm talking about instead of using the 10% of our lodge that actively get involved in events, we invite other groups in, share what we're doing, donate the money from that event back to their group, and that basically brings 8 to 10% of their group into the Masonic circle, if you will, working in our community. So we really want to keep all of the working members in our lodge busy and happy. We would like to see the involvement in our lodge grow, but most voluntary groups, when you really look at it, you got about 10% of the people doing 90% of the work. And it's really hard to increase the lodge count, but it's not so hard to increase the community involvement. Lodges are either growing or shrinking. You can't just maintain at that same level. If you attempt to maintain, you're really saying, I'm going to allow shrinkage. So make sure that you keep all your people busy, keep them happy. And we always want to keep our eyes open here in our community for new events and groups to work with. It takes a very long time to get this program really running, but once it's running, it's like an avalanche coming down the hill. So if I can have the next slide. Events that we've done so far in 2020, even with COVID going, is we've held a couple of golf events. We held a duck race where we utilized little rubber duckies. We dump them into the river that flows down through our town. We have people. The lady there is the district manager, I'm going to call her, from the Saginaw Bay City area for Lions International. We actually did this as an event to raise money to fight children's cancer. And of course, we do our Bikes for Books and our community support in all of our athletic teams in the community. So get the next slide. If you go back to 2009 coming forward, so you got 10 years with 2020 still to be determined, you can see that our number of lodge members really hasn't dramatically changed. But if you start back in 2009, where we had $500 given out for the annual charity from our lodge, moving forward, you can see by 2012, we started to kick in and starting to get into some serious money. We continued that growth, worked harder at getting our community groups involved. And over the last 3 years, we're over $50,000. I suspect 2020 is going to be a little lower, but it gives you an idea of the kind of money. If you take that $50,000 by, we'll say 100 members, that's a lot of money per member that we're paying back into the community, which really helps those other groups do their function in the community as well. So our community groups, we have about 25 or so that we've been working with over the last couple of years. It grows and shrinks at times, but one of the things we do is our sports teams, we typically put on a breakfast for a sports team that's going on, the high school sports teams that are going on into regional and districts and other higher levels of play. We invite the team and the cheerleaders, and the lodge puts that on in the lodge, and we basically give that away. We have Boy Scout and Girl Scout involvement. We have community council and chamber council, a downtown development group. We work with groups in the school like Honor Society and robotics. So we tend to do quite a bit in that kind of a thing. Our activity types are listed there at the bottom. The big ones in the past 3 or 4 years has been poker, but poker has been pretty much taken off the list due to COVID. But we're giving 18 scholarships this year. Each one is only $500. We had to reduce that because we had so many applicants to our program, which is a good thing. We get the kids in and they get to see the lodge in action. It makes a very good thing for them to go on. So if I get the next slide. And I will introduce, I'm not sure, Brother Joe or Brother Mark from Clinton 175.
Good evening, brothers. Mark Haddo, Worshipful, West Tap, Joseph McKelvey, welcome. Clinton Lodge 175, we're building community one man at a time. We as a lodge treat our community focus as an investment in ourselves and in the community. As you can see, our 175 secretary Gmail, that's a good way to contact us directly if you have any questions or need anything from us. Next slide. Go ahead.
So as Mark said, we treat our charitable giving as an investment into our community, just like time spent in lodge is an investment into our brothers and into ourselves. We do the same thing with our giving. And that means we plan it. We have an annual budget as a lodge that's put together, presented as part of our annual meeting. And with that, we ensure that we have enough money within our dues to cover our operating expenses, and our fundraising covers all of our charitable giving. Mark actually a few years back went out and presented a scholarship and told the community, hey, we have money, if you need it, come chat with us. And
people came out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted the money.
for a lot of different stuff that, well, for us as members just didn't feel right or good. It wasn't making the community any better giving these people this money for these things. So we as a lodge had a meeting, and as brothers, we came up with, this is what we want to focus on. This is going to give us the best return on our investment for us morally and making the community better in itself.
So those focal points tie right back into the tenets of Freemasonry, right? So first and foremost, we want to take care of our brothers and their families. That is our obligation. That's what we have to do. Then we've chosen to have youth food security. Lenawee County has some challenges financially, and we have a large number of youth in our counties that are food insecure. So we determined that was going to be a huge part of our focus, which ties directly to relief. And then education, right? Truth. We're very involved in the local community school. We were 18. That's a number for us to aspire to there. That was really cool, Byron. But we did 4 this year, which was an increase of 1 from last year as far as scholarships go. But we do quite a bit with our school.
And that intersection with the school has led us to also pull in other members from the school district itself. So some guys that had been legacy had an opportunity to really see that the lodge was giving to the community, to the thing that was important to them. And so we pulled some membership out of the Clinton school systems, which has been really, really good for us too.
Next slide. So in order to do this, we've decided that we would partner with community organizations, similar to what Byron has done. You know, we're a small group. Somebody asked in the Q&A how many members each presenting lodge had. We have 95 members. Of that, 40 roughly are of the right age and in the area to actually be active and participating members, which is a fairly small pool when it comes to doing all these things. So we've tied in with a few organizations. I-92 is the big one. That's what the photo is there. We've been doing that now for how long? 7, 8 years?
Yeah.
And
And this one's really good too, because from a partnership perspective, not only are we helping a local ministry that is taking care of kids that are food insecure, right? But that also influences the local community schools. It stays local here in Lenawee County, which is important for some of our members. It allows us to interact with other groups too. So at a food packing event, we'll reach out and pull in, the local churches that are available. We've pulled in fraternities and sororities from the local college. We've had DMLA come out and work with us. We've had just students come out and work with us. We've had other people from I-92. Boy Scouts have been out there as well. So it's been really good to have that mesh up of the different organizations.
Moving on to the Clinton schools, we're helping out from everywhere from elementary school up through high school. Like you said, this year we were able to give out 4 scholarships. And every year the middle school sponsors a weekend science trip to Chicago. That's the STEM field trip. So we pitch in a few $100s to give some underprivileged kids the opportunity to go where they normally wouldn't. And then we also every year we sponsor families for take care of them at Thanksgiving and then for Christmas meals and presents.
and equipment as well. We've purchased some copiers for the school system. We've purchased some printers for different groups within the school so that they can use the funds that they have, their operating expense fund or funds to focus on students, right? Not have to buy the things that break down and such. It's actually, it's kind of sad that we live in an environment where the community has to provide for the school.
Right.
But it is the case, and so we're doing that.
And so we're really laser focused on this because we've had groups come to us from the local sports teams and stuff like that. And that's wonderful, you know, support Little League, give them a couple of bucks, buy raffle tickets at their games. But it just, for us, didn't seem like part of the mission of the lodge. There's already boosters that do fundraising for things like that. So we wanted to focus on things that people aren't paying attention to that are super important, like food, right? Making sure that families feel secure, that kids aren't going home hungry over the weekend, that we've got, you know, the homeless kids that are literally living in cars actually have places to stay, and we can interact with the groups that help support those people.
I-92 Ministries pre-COVID was 600 meals a week, and now they're over 2,000. So there's a lot of packaging going on of meals, and he needs the money to buy all this stuff in bulk, and he's got a lot of members volunteering to package it for him.
So I think the key points, the key takeaways when we're talking about community outreach from Clinton's perspective is plan and prepare, right? Put a budget together, figure out what you're going to spend, what you can afford to spend, and then invest that money. Don't just answer like Mark was saying, they came out of the woodwork. We bought socks for a softball team and things like that they made asks, and we had the funds, and we were doing the thing. But the key is focus on what you think is important to your lodge, to your membership, right? If your membership's big into the bike program, do the bike program. If your membership's big into, making sure that the local Little League has a phenomenal field, then by all means do that. But it needs to be based on your membership, so that they have ownership of it.
Just like how every lodge makes their community better, this is the way that Clinton's doing it.
And with that, we get to introduce the next guy. Mittens from Masons. Who's up?
Yeah. Yep. All right. Hi, I'm Chris Huey, and this is Sean Sexton from Joppa Lodge 315 in Bay City, Michigan. And basically, we have going to talk about our Mittens from Masons program, supporting our local community, where we really try hard to live up to the "We Enhance Lives" motto, building stronger communities and building better men. And with that, Sean will talk about our program.
Can you next slide, please? Basically, what has occurred in 2015, Winona Lodge number 256 and Joppa Lodge number 315 were talking, and some of our schools in the area did not have the proper clothing to go to school, to stand at the school buses, or to go out on recess and such. So we come up with a system, Mittens for Masons, that we would go to the schools twice a year. We would have tubs based on what the kids needed in their schools to drop off with signs and such to help those kids. So as they came into school and they didn't have it, the schools were able to offer it to them. We started off originally with 3 schools. Now 5 years later, we have expanded. We're now in 3 counties and 7 lodges. The 5 new lodges that now help us are Birch Run Lodge, number 514, Bridgeport Lodge, number 258, Saginaw Lodge at 77, St. Charles at 313, and Center Lodge at 273. We now are set up to serve 27 schools and a Boys and Girls Club. Through this, we have a networking of crafters and knitters from various churches, nursing homes in the area, retired people that are actually crafting the items that we give to the kids. Some of them are actually, we have Saginaw Valley College that actually has a class there that they can actually come in and learn how to knit, and all that stuff goes to whatever city or county that it involves. Pretty much as I expand to new areas, I have my secretary send an invite to the lodge that I want to go to see when I can come and actually has a presentation. I come out and I explain what's going on and how we're doing it. I pretty much have step-by-step kit of how other counties and other lodges. I can hand you the paperwork over and our signs, and we have mittensformasons.com that has a bunch of information of what's going on. We have gathering centers that gather all year. We buy once a year for the schools, but we collect all year from the community. While this was going on last year of 2019, a local high school had asked for help on winter wear for their kids. Originally, when we set this up, it was designed for elementary kids that did not have a venue to be able to access the items that they needed to go to school or to go out on recess. We felt the older kids could provide for themselves. Nonetheless, I said that we would help them and give them a tub, providing that they would work for it. The school agreed, And then they turned me to there was a new club that was invented last year of November. It was called, next slide, please, Club Give. Club Give is a group of students that they actually go to this class after school, and they can sign up for community services within the city that need to be done. If that is actually going and assisting in nursing homes, like right now they can't take any visitors. So the kids actually for Mother's Day during the virus time actually made Mother's Day cards for all the residents at a particular nursing home. Then they called the nursery, the local nursery in the town, and got flowers to give to them. Now they could not interact with the residents themselves, but what they went and dropped that off, and they took a picture, and then they did a little story on it, and they shared it on their sites. We also shared it on the Mittens for Masons site. They now, it's pretty much where the students interact. We get together on Zoom meetings, just like we are now, about once every 2 weeks, and we talk about things that they would like to change in the community. A lot of the students have the same ideals as we have in the lodges to go out and correct things. People need to eat, turkey dinners, all kinds of things. We work together. So I pretty much, you ask the students on what they want to do, and we just help guide them through. They need a business letter. That needed a business letter and a card and such, and we set them up. Then we went out and engaged the community and showed them how to do it, to use those business letters, to pick up sponsorships, donations and such. In April, we were trucking along trying to work for Thanksgiving, but then in April, the pandemic hit. The biggest need wasn't for food anymore per se, but we needed to protect everyone and make face masks. My mother, being a good sewer, actually came up with a plan, and we shared it with the students. We would, each one that could sew or craft, that was already crafting items for Mittens for Masons, now was making face masks. We shared patterns, gave them material, but pretty much like a starter set so they get started. Within the organization, we had to do this. The schools weren't open. It was remote. We had to do Zoom meetings like this and communicate and drop things off. One of the teachers that was in it actually came down with the virus, so it was even more important for us to tub things up and do it safely so nobody else could infect it. And then it was important to teach them how to protect their families. Now, during the course of doing this, they've got on to a local newspaper. If you turn this slide, sorry, I talk faster and I advance. They've raised the money for the COVID. We've raised almost $1,000. They sent about $800. All the money that the kids raise goes straight to making face masks at this time or purchasing different things. They needed stationery for the Mother's Day cards. They did similar for Father's Day cards. If you advance the next slide, along the way, they've gotten on the newspaper, and that young lady there behind the sewing machine, she actually created Club Give. She actually works as more of maybe a job coordinator. I get with her. She's at all the meetings, and I show her or offer to her what the lodge has coming in the month. If we're looking for volunteers on things that we need, we share the list with the students and they post them on the website or at school. And then the kids or the students rather, are able to sign up and come and help us. We ask that a week ahead of time. We get a roll call of who's coming and where we meet, and we go out and we do it together. If they have something at hand that they need help on, they bring it up in the meeting, and then I approach it to the lodge. If we don't have all the members in the thing, and we talk about the meeting and we come together. If they need help within the school, besides just the school supplies and the face masks that we're working on, they speak it because they're talking to other students and see what's going on. Then we show them how to do that. A lot of them, they want to do the same things we do, but they don't know how to do it. We do. So let's work together. Let's not wear so many hats and come together and help our communities across the state. The schools at this time, they actually, if you go to another slide, the next one, they actually have the This is a student, the one that was behind the sewing machine. She drew this up. She wants to share this with the other schools to get them to join in, all be a member of Club Give. Bay City, Flint, Grand Rapids, all work together on the same projects within the lodges. I feel if I get another school from another lodge to join in, hopefully that Blue Lodge in that area would like to represent and work with that school, so we work together on causes. And with that, I leave you with Chris Huey.
If you want to go to the next slide. So with the Mittens from Masons program too, so the, you guys could use it in like local lodges, the way Sean has it set up, like wherever you're at. He can give you stuff to get started, or, we're always looking for help. So anywhere across, Michigan or wherever, we're always looking for crafters, supplies, donations, anything of that nature. So, if anyone has a wife that likes to knit and, wants to donate, we'd be more than happy to help with that. And with the nice part with, some of these programs like Mittens for Masons, I'm a brother that has a job that doesn't work well with lodge meetings. So the nice thing, I can use my technical skills to, help Sean with the website and some of the technology pieces, so I can kind of work, outside, donating my time to at least helping stuff, with the lodge, even though I can't always make it to meetings. So it's really nice to be able to help in that regard. And then if you want to go to the next slide, this will be all the information to reach us. We have the website with the contact us form, Facebook page, emails for both of us. So, we have for the Mittens for Masons program, like on the website, we have like an access, where another lodge could get like the letters to go out and get like business support in their community and, reach out to the schools. It's really Sean's kind of made it a nice package deal where he really just wants to share it. And he's really passionate about the, keeping kids warm, and then shifting focuses to help with things like masks. During the pandemic, we didn't start a new, we could have called it, masks for Masons, but, we'll just keep it Mittens for now. But yeah, so with that, I would like to pass it off to Brother Robert Lynn, the Junior Warden, from Bethel Lodge number 358 in the great city of Sault Ste. Marie.
Thanks, guys. And great it is. It's been rainy and wonderful, as it has across most of northern Michigan here lately, and I couldn't be happier. So, hey, there's a couple of pictures of me. I am Rob Lynn. You can see I'm still active duty Coast Guard. I am I'm the Junior Warden. I won't get into that backstory, but it's a good one. My own journey to Masonry started about 10 years ago, and this is all relevant to our topic of community engagement, I promise. Started about 10 years ago when I met a brother by the name of Ryan Lewis, who was just going through his fellow craft at the time. We happened to be stationed together for a couple of weeks as roommates, and he talked my ear off about Masonry, and it just so happened there were some History Channel specials on it at the time. And I got to know him real well. He answered my dumb questions to the best of his ability at that time, without violating any obligations. And what I learned over the following 10 years was the content of his character. Fast forward, and through divine providence here in Sault Ste. Marie a few years ago, we were stationed here again together, and he invited me to get to know the brothers in the lodge. And because of the content of their character, I was able to join. Now, here's my point. And then I'll tell you what I'm going to cover. Curiosity is what brought me to Freemasonry through pop culture and TV shows and movies and books. I joined because I got to know some of you brothers and the value that you bring to this world through who you show up as every day and the character. And I stayed in Freemasonry because I was welcome, trusted, respected, and encouraged. And the three things that I want to talk to you very briefly here as I look at the clock, in terms of community engagement in long-term and short-term as a recruiting tool, community engagement to increase your own membership engagement, and community engagement as self-development and an opportunity. Now, why am I talking to you about this? Well, I've been at the Coast Guard 21 years. My business is the people business. We can't fire people when they come work for us, right? We have to turn whatever they sent us into something that we can use. And so in addition to that, as both an engineer and a human resource guy, I also come from a very strong organizational development and leadership academic background in teaching these things in a classroom, which I'll briefly cover later. Now, if you're like me, when I watched these fine gentlemen rehearse the other night, I am and was overwhelmed at the quality of the work that they're doing out there and the volume of the work that they're doing out there. When I first saw Don's slides that they were able to give away tens of thousands of dollars a year, I was absolutely floored. This is absolutely, I mean, it's magnificent. It's a goal. Same with all of our brothers in Clinton and elsewhere. It's okay if you're not there. My lodge isn't there. We're still doing all the same things to a lesser scale, certainly, as many of our lodges are. But I want to tell you, as somebody who's fairly new to the craft myself, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're watching this live right now, and you're not in a position with your lodge or your membership where you can't give away, you can't write a check for a few $100, let alone a few thousand right now, that's okay, because we're all at a different place in our Masonic journey, and our lodges are all at a different place within their development. And whatever that place is, you're supposed to be there and you're supposed to be here. Let's trust the great architect and move on. Now, a good friend of mine named Worshipful Brother Dave White, he told me when I first joined the lodge, he said, no matter why you joined, just stick around long enough, keep showing up, and you're going to get something out of it. Now, I share that to say that as a recruiting tool, no matter what level of community engagement you and your lodge are capable of doing, let me encourage you to invite some of your prospects along. I do have a little sales background that I won't get into unless you guys are interested in a great opportunity. Email me. That's a joke. Your neighbor of 10 years across the street, a coworker who you have seen as someone of great character, a friend at church, a brother, a family member. We don't go out and recruit, right? Now, the days of us being super secret are gone. However, we do have, the Share the Secret campaign here in Michigan. So we're not like standing on a street corner handing out leaflets, but there is an opportunity to share who we are in those. So put those folks out in front, invite them to the soup kitchen with you. We've done the same thing. I know we can invite them to a festive board, but get them involved and show them the purpose, the value, the meaning of the work that we do. And at the same time, they're going to be exposed to the character of the honorable men that we are. And the goal then, I can't read my own notes. Oh yeah, is so that when they think, I was trained as a diesel mechanic, right, and a marine mechanic, so I scribble. Let somebody else deal with that stuff. Anyway, when they think of Masons, I want people to think of you and your lodge, not Tom Hanks or Nicolas Cage. Are you with me? So because you're involved in the community and the square and compass, and you're plastered on everything. So. So that's as a recruiting tool for prospects and individuals. Now, we, human beings, we engage with our communities as a way to serve and to live the core values of our organization. Being the men that you are, also being highly visible, super critical to that. The key to progressing in our communities and our organizations is to be that strong tower, if you want to use a biblical reference, to be that beacon of light, that pillar that represents those values to the world, right? So we're doing a lot of good stuff. But here's what I know from the people business, is that people want to belong to something. Significance and belonging are the words we use when we're counseling parents about developing children. Significance and belonging, it's a tribal instinct, right? And we can probably all relate to that on how we came into Freemasonry and other things. But community engagement brings the value to the lives of every member involved. It also re-energizes our brothers' belief in our group itself, and it helps our current members engage and re-engage in the business of the lodge. The potential members, if you get them involved, because it's something that they can do, they can be a part of, they can grow and get to know each other without having to learn about the secrets of, this and that. They get to see and feel and experience the character of you fine gentlemen as well. And so both something tangible and intangible, because it's giving Joe, or one of the guys on his, talked about giving folks that ownership of that laser focused giving or that laser focused participation that is relevant to your lodge and the things that your lodge finds important, because there is no one size fits all approach to community engagement. Community engagement as a self-development opportunity, there's no one path necessarily that is going to get all the brothers in your lodge on board. And I think we've referenced that. It's going to be 10% of any organization that do 90% of the work. And 10% more that tell you you're doing it wrong. And then there's 80% that are just going to watch you do it or wait for direction. So, but that's okay. We can work with that. As long as they don't get in the way, that's okay. You know, there are introverts in this world. I think everybody understands introverts and extroverts. There's a bunch of different ways to categorize people. But, you know, your introvert isn't going to want to stand out there at the county fair and hand out pamphlets and pull people into the child ID booth. You know, that is going to scare them to death. Your extrovert would die of boredom behind a computer, right? So you're going to find people's natural gifts and talents and see how they align with the business of the lodge as well. Every member, however, can find and will find a comfortable place to serve. Now, with regard to self-development and service, the thing that I want you to be careful of, think of that person in your life who is a yes man, who says yes and volunteers for everything. I'm looking at a picture on the screen right now of Jeff Marlatt. He knows who he is. And actually, you know what? Go to the next slide. We're really bad with pictures in my lodge. We're getting better. So I'll give you these two to look at. And, you know, Jeff is one of those guys that he'll say yes to darn near anything because he's got a great heart. Now, we all have somebody like that in our lives. And when it comes to serving other people, we can unfortunately burn ourselves out, committing to driving, you know, 3 hours for a meeting or for an appendant body that perhaps, you know, we're not as all in on as we want to be because of other time commitments and obligations. But, you know, just be careful being of service so much that you're spreading yourself so thin that eventually you have to snap back to take care of yourself. It's like the doctor who gets sick. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. And so this is the question that I want to challenge everybody with regard to self-development in community engagement. What would our lodges and our lives look like if we were of service to ourselves in the same way that we are of service to other people and our communities? Now, if you want to put that under the hat of brotherly love, that's great. If we were of service to ourselves in the same way that we served others, we want to make good men better. It's our unofficial motto. We can serve our community, absolutely. Nobody's saying don't do that. But the scriptures that sit on the in the center of our lodge say, love God and your neighbor as yourself. The prerequisite that everybody misses in there is to love yourself first. Now, this might be getting a little deep for Friday night. Hopefully you haven't had any brews yet. I'm only drinking coffee. But to love yourself first, I used to teach a 5-week leadership academy. We had 1,000 students a year. It was a resident course. And one thing that we learned was you cannot teach leadership. You cannot teach those things inside 4 walls and have people really put them into practice. Now, we teach esoteric principles and lessons. Fancy word for it today is Masonic education. We teach these concepts that community engagement gives you as an individual an opportunity to put into action. Brotherly love, relief, and truth, as the example already used, are phenomenal principles to understand, to digest, to speak about. But you know when they're even better is when people hear you saying them and they hear you applying them and living them in both your lodges with each other and in the community. And that is an action-oriented statement. Last slide, please, Fred. Action is the key. So action, prefaced by the word satis in Greek and in Latin, means enough. And so you and your lodge will finally achieve enough growth and enough satisfaction when you have taken enough action. So a friend of mine who's actually watching tonight, Brother Phil Potter, he said, so what you're saying is actions are louder than words? And I'm like, hey man, way to overly simplify my thought. Thank you. In the service, we also say, you know, everybody needs a chief, a mentor, and a friend. What that means in our lodge is no matter where you are in your Masonic journey, Everybody needs a leader, a mentor, and a friend in order to be successful. The leader is somebody who is going to tell you you're screwing up when you're screwing up, irrespective of your feelings. Is going to tell you that you should have been there, you obligated, you said you were going to do it, you should have been there, something like that. Not necessarily from a place of guilt, but from a place of encouragement. A mentor is somebody who's going to show you the way, shine the flashlight in front of you, and kind of push you along, teaching you as you go. And the friend is the person you can commiserate with, who's going on the journey with you probably. Next thought, be a Barnabas. The thing that helped me to be most successful as a very junior Freemason is the encouragement of the brothers in my lodge, the encouragement for good ideas, the encouragement of anything that I was interested in. And so now, as a lodge who's just really opening up the doors to greater community service, because we have a lot more brothers under the age of 40 now than we did just 2 years ago, who have the wherewithal, the time, the ability, the desire, and the strong backs to do things. At least physical first. We're doing some other stuff later. I was encouraged. I was pushed along. I was helped. It was literally, they were all sons of encouragement, which is what Barnabas translates to. And so sometimes we have a tendency to go at each other from a place of guilt, even though that's kind of against our obligation as far as things that come before and after Freemasonry. But we'll say things like, missed you at the meeting last week, brother. And we know we're doing it from like a funny place. But that person, it sticks with them, right? So if we can shift our focus to being constructive and being sons of encouragement for one another, then we will continue to attract what we are, both in community engagement, as we go live these principles in the world, and as we be a friend to ourselves and our brothers and our lodges. Those who go into the world to seek friends won't find many, but those of you who go into the world to be a friend or to model those behaviors of brotherly love, relief, and truth will find many. And I will leave you that. I feel like I'm giving a testimony in church. I will leave you that in the name of God. Amen. So, Brother Fred Kaiser, back to you, please, sir. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I couldn't be more humbled and honored to be asked to be included with all you gents. Thanks.
4 fabulous lodges, 4 fabulous presentations. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time to share the information with the rest of us. And I'd ask Brother Corey and Brother Darren if you have any questions for the speakers.
I think Corey did a great job of answering them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we answered all the any questions that were out there. So.
All right, and I saw that
I did put the survey. I'm sorry, I did put the survey link in the chat, and I also just hit send out an email to everybody that was registered. So
wonderful.
If you'd be so kind to fill it out at your leisure, that'd be great.
I saw Brother Jack Boss's hand up. You were able to capture?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for spending time with us on the final in our series of 12 Friday Night Light sessions. We have been humbled by the gentlemen with whom we have been interacting here, and we thank them for taking their time on their Friday evening to share their story. We thank you for taking your time to join us this evening. So have a wonderful Friday and be safe. Take care.
If the presenters could stay on for just 1 minute so I can get a